Hey guys, tonight we slip into the flickering shadows of a small village near Chang'an, in the heart of China's Han Dynasty, around 200 BC. Picture yourself trudging down a dusty path, the air thick with the scent of wood smoke and damp earth. Torches sputter in the distance, their oily haze curling into the night sky. You're in a world where light is a luxury, wrestled from the darkness with clumsy oil lamps that stink and spit. Spoiler, you probably won't survive this era without cursing the lack of a flashlight. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your location and local time. I'm curious where you're listening from tonight. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're standing in this village, where the sun has long dipped below the horizon, and the stars are pinpricks above thatched roofs. The Han Dynasty is in its prime, a sprawling empire stitching together trade routes and ideas. People here are clever. Bronze tools, silk looms, and early paper are already old news. But light? That's a problem. Oil lamps, those clay bowls filled with sesame or fish oil, are the go-to. They're finicky, though. The wicks char fast, the smoke stings your eyes, and one wrong move, your hut's a bonfire. You can almost feel the villagers' frustration, squinting through the haze to finish their evening tasks. Enter the craftsman, a wiry guy named Liang, who you spot hunched over a workbench in his cramped home. He's not some scholar in silks, he's a practical sort, hands calloused from carving wood and shaping clay. Liang's been tinkering, driven by a mix of boredom and brilliance. You notice a pile of honeycomb scraps in the corner, scavenged from a local beekeeper. Beeswax, he's realized, isn't just for sealing jars, it's got potential. He's melting it down in a small bronze pot, the sweet, earthy scent cutting through the usual lamp oil reek. You lean closer as he dips a rush wick into the molten wax, letting it soak. His fingers move with the kind of focus you'd give a tricky phone repair today. Here's the mainstream fact. Beeswax candles first appeared in China around 200 BC, a game changer for lighting. Unlike oil lamps, they burned cleaner, with a steady flame that didn't choke the room. Liang's not inventing this in a vacuum. Historians say the Han were already experimenting with wax for waterproofing and sculptures. But a quirky tidbit, some villagers believed beeswax held a bit of the sun's spirit, captured by bees from flowers. It's why Liang's neighbors will later whisper that his candles feel almost sacred, like tiny stars brought indoors. You watch Liang pull the wick from the wax, letting it cool. It's a crude prototype, lumpy and uneven, but he's onto something. He lights it, and a small golden flame dances to life. No smoke, no stench, just a soft glow painting the walls of his hut. You can't help but grin. It's like watching someone invent the wheel, except this wheel is made of wax and hope. Historians still argue whether Liang's candle was a solo stroke of genius or if traders from the West, maybe even Persia, whispered the idea along the Silk Road. No one's dug up a definitive first candle yet, so the debate rages on. The village around you is quiet now, save for the occasional bleat of a goat or the clink of a neighbor's pottery. Liang's flame casts shadows that flicker like ghosts on the walls. You're standing at the edge of something big, something that'll outlast this craftsman's life and spread far beyond this dusty village. His candle's not just light, it's a rebellion against the dark, a small act of defiance that'll echo through centuries. You can almost hear the villagers whispering about it already, their voices carrying on the cool night air. For now, though, Liang is just a guy with a wick and a dream, and you're right there with him, watching history glow to life. You're still in Liang's hut, the air warm with the faint honeyed scent of his beeswax experiment. That little flame from his first candle, remember that lumpy, stubborn thing, is holding steady, casting a golden puddle of light across his workbench. You can see the creases in Liang's face soften as he watches it burn, like he's just cracked a code the rest of the village hasn't caught up to yet. Outside, the night hums with crickets, and you can almost feel the weight of the Han Dynasty's vastness pressing in. A world of emperors and armies, but here, in this tiny hut, it's just you, Liang, and a glow that's about to change everything. Liang's not done tinkering. You watch him grab another wick, this time a thicker strip of rush, and dip it into the molten beeswax. He's methodical, dipping and cooling, building up layers until the candle starts to look less like a misshapen lump and more like something you'd recognize. The wax hardens smooth, a pale, creamy yellow that catches the light like polished stone. He's not just making a light source, he's crafting something beautiful, something that feels alive. You can't help but think of those overpriced candles in modern boutiques, $40 for artisanal glow, when Liang's doing it better with 200 BC tech. Here's the mainstream fact. Beeswax candles, like the one Liang's fussing over, were a Han Dynasty innovation, documented in texts from around 200 BC. They were pricier than oil lamps, but burned longer and cleaner, making them a status symbol for those who could afford them. The quirky tidbit? Some Han craftsmen mixed herbs into the wax, thinking the scent could ward off bad spirits. Liang's not doing that yet, but you catch him sniffing the air, maybe wondering if a pinch of something could make his candles even fancier. You lean closer as he lights this new candle. The flame is stronger now, less flicker, more confidence. It lights up his whole hut, throwing shadows that dance across clay jars and woven mats. You notice his wife, May, peeking in from the doorway, her eyes wide. She's used to the smoky haze of their old oil lamp, the one that left soot stains on the walls and made her cough. This candle's different. No choking fumes, just a clean, warm glow. She mutters something about it being like moonlight trapped in wax, and you can't help but smirk at how poetic that sounds. Give it a week, and she'll probably be bragging to the neighbors. Liang's not thinking about fame, though. You see him scribbling notes on bamboo strips, his brush moving fast in the candlelight. He's figuring out how to make these faster, cheaper. Beeswax isn't exactly lying around in buckets. It's labor-intensive to harvest, and bees aren't thrilled about handing it over. You can almost hear him thinking, how do I get more wax without getting stung to death? It's the kind of problem you'd tweet about today, probably with a bee emoji and a cry-laughing face. Historians still argue whether Liang's candles were a local invention or inspired by some far-off technique. The Silk Road was buzzing back then, carrying goods and ideas from as far as Persia or India. Could a trader have mentioned wax-dipped wicks in passing? There's no hard evidence, but the debate keeps scholars up at night, probably with their own candles burning. You step outside Liang's hut, the night air cool on your face. The village is dark, save for the faint glow of oil lamps in other homes, their light dim and wavering. Liang's candle, though, is a beacon. You can see it through the window, steady and bright, like it's daring the darkness to try harder. The neighbors haven't noticed yet, but they will. Word spreads fast in a place like this, where gossip travels quicker than a horse cart. You can already imagine the whispers. Liang's got a new kind of light. Cleaner, brighter, smells like honey. As you linger, you notice a kid, maybe 10, staring at the hut from across the path. He's clutching a clay lamp, its wick sputtering like it's on its last legs. He's curious, drawn to the strange glow leaking from Liang's window. You want to nudge him and say, "Kid, that's the future right there." But for now, it's just you, the night, and the soft crackle of Liang's candle burning inside. It's a small thing, this flame, but it's got big plans. You can feel it.
You're back in the village near Chang'an. The night air crisp as you hover near Liang's hut. That golden candlelight, remember that clean, honey-scented glow, is still spilling out, a quiet rebellion against the dark. But now you're noticing the other houses, their windows flickering with the dim, smoky haze of oil lamps. The contrast is stark. You can almost taste the acrid tang of burning fish oil from a neighbor's lamp, the kind that makes your eyes water and your throat itch. It's no wonder Liang's candle is about to turn heads. You're standing at the edge of a shift, where an old way of life is about to get a serious upgrade. You wander closer to a nearby hut, where a woman is hunched over a loom, squinting in the faint light of her oil lamp. The flame sputters, throwing shadows that jerk like bad animation. She's weaving silk, her fingers deft but slow, hampered by the lousy light. You can see the frustration in her tight jaw. Every missed stitch is a reminder of how much these lamps suck. If you handed her a flashlight, she'd probably think you're a wizard. Instead, she's stuck with a clay bowl of oil that's more smoke than light, and you're betting she'd trade her best robe for something better. Here's the mainstream fact. Oil lamps were the standard in the Han Dynasty, used for centuries before candles showed up around 200 BC. They were cheap, made from clay or bronze, and fueled by whatever oil you could scrape together, sesame, fish, or even animal fat. But they were messy, prone to spilling, and the smoke could turn a cozy hut into a haze-filled nightmare. The quirky tidbit? Some villagers swore by adding crushed herbs to the oil, thinking it purified the air. Spoiler, it didn't. It just made the smoke smell like burnt mint, which isn't the vibe anyone's going for. You drift back toward Liang's place, where he's showing off his candle to a small crowd. 3 neighbors, curious and skeptical. There's Mei, his wife, beaming like she's already planning to sell these at the market. Then there's old Chen, a gruff farmer who's squinting at the candle like it's a trick. And a young woman, Shu, who's clutching her own oil lamp and looking jealous. You catch Chen muttering, "Why bother? My lamp's fine." But his lamp's wick is half drowned, spitting black smoke like it's auditioning for a villain role. You want to lean in and whisper, "Dude, upgrade already." Liang lights another candle, and the group falls quiet. The flame's steady glow lights up their faces, no flickering, no choking fumes. You can see Shu's eyes widen. She's sold. Chen's still grumbling, but even he's leaning closer, sniffing the faint honey scent. Liang explains how the beeswax burns longer, how it doesn't stain the walls. He's not a salesman, but he's got their attention. You can't help but think of those infomercials that sell you stuff you don't need, except this time Liang's pitching something genuinely useful. Historians still argue whether the shift from oil lamps to candles was about practicality or prestige. Beeswax was expensive, so maybe only the wealthy could afford Liang's candles at first, or maybe villagers like Shu saw the value and scraped together what they could to ditch their smoky lamps. There's no record of a candle revolution sweeping Chang'an overnight, but you're betting it started with moments like this: small crowds, quiet gasps, and a new kind of light. You step outside, the village now a patchwork of dim oil lamp glows and Liang's lone candle shining brighter than the rest. The stars above seem to wink, like they know their competition's arrived. You notice Shu heading home, her oil lamp unlit, maybe dreaming of a candle of her own. The air feels different now, charged with possibility. Liang's not just lighting his hut, he's planting a seed. You can almost hear the village buzzing with whispers about this new glow, and you know it's only a matter of time before someone else tries to make one. As you linger, you spot a stray dog sniffing around Liang's doorstep, drawn by the wax's sweet scent. It's a small thing, but it makes you chuckle. Even the dogs are curious. The night's growing colder, but Liang's candle keeps burning, a tiny defiance against the dark. You're rooting for it, for him, for this little flame that's about to outshine every lamp in the village.
You're still drifting through the village near Chang'an, the night air sharp with the scent of pine and distant cook fires. Liang's candle, remember that honey-scented game-changer, is no longer just a glow in his hut. Word's spreading, and you can feel the village stirring, like a sleepy cat catching a whiff of something new. You're walking past mud brick homes where oil lamps still flicker in most windows, but now there's a buzz in the air, a quiet excitement. Liang's not just a craftsman anymore. He's the guy with the light that doesn't choke you. You're about to see how his little invention starts rippling beyond this dusty patch of the Han Dynasty. You follow a dirt path toward the market square, where a few late-night traders are packing up their stalls under the dim glow of their lamps. The talk here is all about Liang's candles. You overhear Shu, the young woman from last night, haggling with a beekeeper for a chunk of honeycomb. She's got that determined look, like someone who's already planning to copy Liang's trick. You can't blame her. Those oil lamps are the worst, like trying to read by the light of a smoky barbecue. Shu's not alone. A couple of other villagers are asking about beeswax. Their voices low, but eager. It's like watching the first iPhone drop, except instead of touchscreens, it's wax and wicks. Here's the mainstream fact. By 200 BC, the Han Dynasty's trade networks, especially along the early Silk Road, were spreading goods and ideas like wildfire. Candles, being portable and less messy than oil lamps, likely hitched a ride on these routes, moving from villages like this one to bigger towns. The quirky tidbit? Some traders claimed beeswax candles lasted so long they'd burn through an entire night of storytelling without needing a refill, unlike oil lamps, which you'd be topping up faster than a gas-guzzling car. You pause at a stall where a merchant, a wiry man with a braided beard, is showing off a crude beeswax candle he claims he made himself. It's lumpier than Liang's, more like a waxed potato, but he's proud, waving it around like it's a jade statue. You smirk. Imitation's the sincerest form of flattery, but this guy's got some work to do. He's telling anyone who'll listen how he saw Liang's candle and figured it out. The crowd's small, but curious, and you notice a kid tossing pebbles at the merchant's lamp, maybe hoping it'll tip over so the candle looks even better. Kids, right? Always stirring the pot. You keep moving, heading toward the edge of Chang'an itself, where the city's glow is brighter. More lamps, more people, more noise. The candle's journey is picking up speed. You spot a cart loaded with beeswax blocks, headed for the city's wealthier districts. Liang's not on this cart, but his idea is. You can imagine his candles lighting up fancy homes, where scholars scribble poetry and officials plot empire moves under that clean, steady flame. It's not just about light anymore. It's about status. You can almost hear some rich guy bragging, "Oh, oil lamps, so last dynasty." Historians still argue whether candles spread because of practical needs or because they became a luxury item. The rich in Chang'an could afford beeswax, but villagers like Shu had to barter or beg for scraps. Was it a grassroots movement, or did the elite drive demand? No one's found a Han Dynasty candle invoice to settle it, so the debate simmers on. You circle back to the village, where Liang's hut is now a bit of a hot spot. A small group's gathered outside, including old Chen, who's still skeptical, but holding a candle now, inspecting it like it might bite. Liang's teaching them, showing how to dip the wick just right. He's no showman, but his quiet pride is infectious. You notice Mei nearby, stacking finished candles like they're gold bars. She's already talking about selling them at the market, maybe even to traders heading west. You want to high-five her for the hustle, but you're just a ghost in this story, so you settle for a nod. The night's deepening, and the village feels alive in a new way. Candlelight flickers in a few more windows now, tiny beacons challenging the old oil lamp haze. You catch a whiff of beeswax on the breeze, sweet and clean, and it's like the village is exhaling relief. Liang's little flame is no longer just his, it's the village's, and soon it'll be the empire's. You're standing at the edge of something big, watching it spread like wildfire, one wick at a time. You're drifting through the village near Chang'an, the night now thick with the hum of cicadas and the faint glow of candles. Liang's candles, remember those honey-scented rebels? Dotting more windows than before. The air feels different, like the village is waking up to a new rhythm. You're not just in a sleepy hamlet anymore, you're watching a spark of change catch fire, one that's about to light up rituals and lives across the Han Dynasty. The stars above seem dimmer now, outshone by these new flames creeping into homes and hearts. You're here to see how candles stop being just light and start becoming something sacred. You follow a narrow path to a small shrine at the village's edge, where a crowd's gathered under a gnarled tree. The air smells of incense and damp moss, and you spot a priestess, her robe swaying as she arranges offerings, rice, jade, a few wilted flowers on a stone altar. Usually, an oil lamp would be sputtering here, its smoke curling into the night like a bad omen. But tonight, there's a beeswax candle, its flame steady and golden, casting a soft glow on the faces around you. It's Liang's handiwork, no doubt, and it's transforming this ritual into something quieter, holier. You can't help but think of those overpriced Zen candles you see online. Same vibe, but this one's got actual soul. Here's the mainstream fact. By 200 BC, candles were starting to appear in Han Dynasty rituals, their clean light preferred for offerings to ancestors or spirits. Unlike oil lamps, they didn't choke the air, making them perfect for sacred spaces. The quirky tidbit? Some priests believed the beeswax flame carried prayers higher, as if the bee's connection to flowers gave it a direct line to the heavens. You catch the priestess muttering a chant, her eyes fixed on the candle like it's a tiny god itself. You linger, watching the villagers kneel, their shadows soft in the candlelight. There's Shu, clutching a small candle of her own, probably bartered from Liang. She's whispering a prayer for her sick mother, and you can see the hope in her face, lit by that warm glow. The candle's not just light here, it's a bridge between the living and the spirits, a tool for focus and faith. You're tempted to roll your eyes at the mysticism, but there's something about the scene, the quiet, the glow, the belief, that makes you pause. It's like stumbling into a group chat where everyone's vibing, and you don't want to break the mood. The priestess raises her hands, and the candle's flame seems to pulse, as if it's listening. The villagers lean in, their murmurs fading. You noticed old Chen in the back, still grumbling but holding a candle now, his oil lamp nowhere in sight. Even he's caught up in this moment, and you can't help but smirk. Stubborn guy's finally caving. The candle's light feels like a promise, a way to honor the past without choking on smoke. You wonder if Liang knew his invention would end up here, on an altar, carrying prayers instead of just lighting huts. Historians still argue whether candles and rituals were a practical choice or a spiritual one. Did the Han use them because they burned cleaner, or because their steady flame felt divine? No one's found a priest's diary saying, "Chose candles, smoke was too much," so the debate lingers like incense in the air. You step back, the shrine's glow fading as you wander toward the village again. The candle's role is shifting. It's not just for weavers or scholars now, it's for souls, for hopes, for the things people whisper when the world's quiet. You pass a house where a family's gathered, their own candle burning as they share stories of ancestors. The light feels intimate, like it's holding the room together. You're starting to get why these candles spread so fast. Practical, sure, but they've got this knack for making moments feel bigger. The night's growing softer now, the air cooler, the village settling into a gentle hush. You pause by Liang's hut, where a single candle still burns in his window, its light steady as ever. It's like a beacon, calling to something deeper than just illumination. You can almost hear the prayers from the shrine echoing in your head, mingling with the cicada's song. The world feels smaller, warmer, lit by these tiny flames that are starting to mean so much more. As the night deepens, you feel the village's pulse slow, the candlelight softening every edge. The air carries a faint sweetness, like honey and hope woven together, and you're lulled by the glow that's now part of this place's soul. Let the flames flicker in your mind, carrying you gently toward sleep, where dreams might hold a little of this ancient light.
You're still wandering the edges of this Han Dynasty village near Chang'an, the night air soft and cool, carrying whispers of beeswax and hope. Those candles, Liang's little rebels, remember their golden glow, aren't just lighting up huts and shrines anymore. They're weaving a legacy, stretching far beyond this cluster of thatched roofs. You're about to see how these flames, born in a craftsman's hut, flicker into the wider world, shaping the way people chase away the dark. The stars above seem to lean in, curious, as if they know their reign over the night is being challenged. You follow a trader's cart rattling out of the village at dawn, its wheels creaking under a load of goods, silk bolts, bronze tools, and, tucked carefully in a straw-lined crate, a stack of Liang's beeswax candles. The trader, a wiry man named Wei, is headed for Chang'an's bustling markets, where merchants from across the empire haggle over everything from jade to gossip. You can see Wei's excitement. He's got a hunch these candles will fetch a good price. They're not just wax, they're a novelty, a step up from the smoky oil lamps everyone's sick of. You can't help but think of those viral gadgets on social media. Same energy, except Wei's not posting #candlelife selfies. Here's the mainstream fact. By the 2nd century BC, candles were spreading through Han Dynasty trade networks, reaching cities and even distant outposts along the Silk Road. Their portability and clean burn made them a hit for travelers and wealthy households alike. The quirky tidbit? Some traders claimed candles could predict the weather. If the flame flickered wildly, a storm was coming. You catch Wei glancing at the candles as he travels, maybe wondering if they'll warn him of rain. Spoiler, they won't, but his cutie thinks so. You trail Wei's cart into Chang'an, where the city hums with life. Vendors shouting, oxen snorting, the air thick with the scent of spices and roasted meat. At the market, Wei sets up his stall, placing the candles front and center, like they're the star of the show. You watch a well-dressed woman, probably some official's wife, pause to inspect one. She holds it up, sniffing the faint honey scent, and her eyes light up like she's found treasure. Wei's already spinning a tale about how these candles burn like the sun itself, and you have to stifle a laugh. Dude's got marketing skills that'd make a modern influencer jealous. The woman buys a handful, and soon others crowd around. Merchants, scholars, even a monk with a shaved head who's muttering about using them in his temple. You can see the candles' appeal. They're practical, but also fancy, a little flex for anyone who can afford them. It's not long before another trader, headed west toward the Silk Road, buys a batch to sell in far-off towns. You imagine those candles lighting up tents in the desert, their glow guiding weary travelers. It's like Liang's little hut is reaching across the empire without him ever leaving home. Historians still argue whether candles became a widespread phenomenon because of trade or because of cultural clout. Did merchants like Wei push them as a hot commodity, or did their use in rituals, like that shrine scene you saw, give them a spiritual edge that made them irresistible? No one's found a Han Dynasty market ledger to confirm either way, so the question burns on, much like Liang's candles. You linger in the market, watching the crowd thin as the sun dips low. Wei's sold most of his candles, his coin pouch heavier than when he arrived. You can't help but feel a twinge of pride for Liang, whose idea is now bouncing from stall to stall, city to city. You drift back toward the village, the road quieter now, the horizon glowing with the last light of day. A few candles flicker in Chang'an's windows, their soft light a contrast to the harsh oil lamps still clinging to life. As you near the village, you spot Liang outside his hut, shaping another candle by moonlight. He doesn't know yet how far his creation has traveled, how it's lighting up markets and temples beyond his world. You want to tell him, "Mate, you're kind of a big deal." But you just watch, letting the moment sink in. The night feels alive with possibility, each candle a tiny echo of Liang's spark, burning brighter than he could have dreamed.